Southampton Town Trustees General Meeting. I'll ask the Secretary Treasurer to call the roll.
William Parrish.
Present.
Ann Walker.
Here.
Edward J. Warner.
Present.
William Pell is present. Scott Horwitz.
I am here.
We're all here.
Thank you very much. We have a full board here. So just for informational purposes, the next work session will be June 5th, 2023 at 9:30, followed by our regular meeting.
AM.
Yeah, I see that.
Oops. Well, you're coming at night, sorry.
Yeah, AM. Yeah, no, I'll be asleep. Followed by the 1 o'clock meeting that we have here today. We do have a discussion here from Trustee Warner on the Bel Air project. Richard A. Carosa, somebody's here.
Is Richard here to?
Okay, so there's nobody here for that discussion, so we won't have it. Right?
Did you want to mention anything about it, Ed?
No, he had contacted me. He had asked about presenting some project there, and I said that he could come in and discuss it at the 1 o'clock meeting. So I did confirm with him on Friday that he was on the agenda for 1 o'clock. So,
So we will. This has a look on it. Okay.
Sorry, that's why it took me so long.
Okay, so we will dispense with that discussion
Yep.
since the party's not here.
yep.
And we'll move right on to our public hearing, since I see there's a bunch of people here that I would suspect are here for the public hearing. So just as a matter of just decorum for the room relative to the public hearing, I like to see the public participation. That's great. I suspect we're going to go backwards for discussion now. Are you Rich A. Carosa?
Yes.
That's what I thought. How are you? We are in session right now, and we have a scheduled discussion. I guess you wanted to address this board this morning?
Yes.
This afternoon.
I mean, this afternoon, excuse me. Now you got me in the AM. Why don't you take the opportunity at this point before we move forward to public hearing?
Thank you for the time.
Could you please just state your name?
My name is Richard Carosa. I'm with the RAC Group of Companies.
You don't have to go so close.
Okay, thank you.
You can sign in too.
Wizard of Oz, every time I come here, it's the same thing. We're one of the bidders on the hotel, the Bel Air Hotel, and I thought things were going smoothly until they weren't. And it seems like the people of Hampton Bays are in desperate need of a kayak launch location. So we had investigated the property which is adjacent to it, which the Board of Trustees owns, which is currently a parking lot with a coat of RCA blend down, and everybody drives over it. I'd like to convert that, dredge out that canal, create a place for them to put their kayak, I guess boats, whatever you call them, into the water there and clean it up. I think it'd be a good use for the property rather than a parking lot. I'll work with the town to dredge it out so you can bring in boats that aren't touching the bottom. And I think it'd be a good use of public funds.
All right, well, I mean, first I'm hearing of this, but
Yeah, I mean, that's why I asked him to present.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what your intentions are with the property next door.
We're
I
gonna
mean,
put a 16-unit senior housing with a pool, affordable, so seniors can come live in the great town of Southampton and have the amenities and the use of somebody that maybe doesn't make as much income.
right.
And I think it would also clean the canal up for a lot of those older homes that love the,
But that's two separate, you know, and
Yeah.
there's two separate things going on here. I mean, the trustees.
well, I came here to talk about your lot and to put
Well,
in, that's why I came here.
Yeah, I mean, our lot is abused, you know, and we're not happy with that.
But
And, you know,
let's work together. I can
Well-
help you guys, give you some
But-
guidance and ideas,
But
and
we-
we can work on
I
that.
appreciate that, but we got two different things going on here. One is, there's something that's not in our jurisdiction so much as the fact that we're an adjoining property owner that's concerned about upland, activities that are occurring and the needs of Hampton Bays. And then you folks have a proposal with the town
Well,
board
that-
that you're
that's
working.
separate, yeah, I
A
just
separate
can't-
issue.
Yes.
So, and we endeavor to find ways internally that we can clean up our properties. And we've done kayak racks throughout the town in various different areas, and we have engaged in, dredging
These pe-
projects with the county of Suffolk and, public benefits and so on and so forth. But it's two separate issues.
Understand.
So I-
When I sat in this meeting, I couldn't believe had to be 200 people who want this kayak park there. Maybe
Well-
three, I think you were there that night.
100%. I mean,
You were there, you know that this is what they want.
People want access to the waterway, they want good, clean water, they want to be able to enjoy the natural resources of the
So let's
community.
work together, like I said, and I can help you guys with some guidance on what I do, on how to clean up a canal, dredge it, build it.
I appreciate
Create a
that you-
park.
I appreciate you coming down, but you're going to have to settle out your matter with the town board that has the jurisdiction over the project that you're dealing with, and, just as much as the trustees don't want anybody infringing upon what is considered to be, assets of the trust for the freeholders, I don't want to step on anybody else's, they're still going through their
Okay.
process.
Well, Mr. Warner is very gracious to me, asked me to come down and talk about it, and appreciate the time.
No, I do appreciate you coming in
That's fine.
and giving your vision of what you want to do on our property, but, it's, we're a board
Of course, no, I
of
understand that.
five, and, there might be a little bit different thoughts and stuff like that. The property next door has been a problem in the town for generations. And I'm not going to go there and touch that right now because, I might have a different vision than what other people do.
Right.
But that's my
You asked me
personal
to-
opinion.
I appreciate it, you asked me to come down.
One thing that's unique about the property that we own in front of the property that's the Bel Air is we actually own in front of that property. We own 3
Correct.
feet of it, so,
You got the nice new bulkhead.
so we're gonna,
Well, which is why we, stepped up to, get involved in it, because it does show on the survey that we do own the front 3 feet. We are the adjoining property owner, so board has a stake. We are a stakeholder, an important part. But there's also process, and I think we want to also stay engaged, and for you to stay engaged with the town board and the
I'll
community over
liaison
the
with
process.
Bill and go over what I think, and we'll maybe catch the next meeting.
yeah, as we move forward, I'll keep in touch with you and see what the board thinks is what a vision, but a kayak was launched down there, was definitely on the radar. It's
Right.
just, we've had multiple other areas that we've gotten involved in with kayak launches and racks and stuff like that. It's been very successful.
Perfect.
So,
Thank you for the time.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. So moving right along, we've got the public hearing. Before we get started in the public hearing, just want to make sure everybody's phones are on silent, okay? And we're going to acknowledge we've got folks on Zoom perhaps also that may want to be participating. We're going to have a 3-minute talking. If you have anything that you want to add to the public hearing, we're going to put a 3-minute time limit, address the board. Yeah, there's, thank you, Trustee Pell. We're not passing 3 minutes around, we're just trying to get as much voices heard so that the board can learn what concerns are that would help them make a good decision. It's, sometimes these things turn into back and forths. They're not always intended to be back and forths. They're more about informational for the board to make a decision, but we'll make that determination as we chug through the public hearing. So that being said, I think everybody knows the ground rules.
James, can you put up a Far Pond, please?
You got to open a,
So, I'd like to open up the public hearing.
Second.
seconded by Trustee Welker. All in favor?
All right.
Okay, so the public hearing, you want to read?
There's not a real description.
No, there really isn't a description, it's just
Yeah,
this baby.
Do you want to describe?
It's basically all persons for or against the alternate path of the proposed dredge project for Far Pond. Basically, this area has been dredged since I believe it's like the late 60s, early 70s. There is a channel which has been maintained by Suffolk County DPW for that whole time. Was just dredged a couple of years ago, or actually last winter, previous winter, and there's some issues with erosion, which has, happened over the, basically 40 years plus of dredging. The area in front of Far Pond Road has basically come under a lot of erosion. We've tried to do some projects with the adjoining property owner, putting some stone in front of the roadway and working with the highway, and also our board to be able to, bring back sand and to bolster up the beach. As of right now, the beach is pretty much eroded back to the road again, and the channel is still fairly good and navigable. But we're looking, our intentions is to possibly move that channel to the west a little bit further, keeping the, 80% of the channel that was designed by the county, but the last 20 or 25% of it, moving it more to the west. I did ask Jim Walker from Inner Science, who's helping us prepare some of the, sheets that we had furnished for the county. Jim, could you come and give us a little bit of an overview, being that you're familiar with yourself in this area for a long time?
Okay. The channel used to be further to the west. Part of the history is, we looked at the air photos, where the grass ends on that sand spit is where the old channel used to be, and I spoke to the trustees about moving the channel over. We accessed the Suffolk County Department of Public Works plans, and basically the idea would be to mechanically dredge the most northern part of the channel and take the sand and put it at the end of Far Pond Road and move the channel back to where it historically was. And I also recommended to the trustees that we not move the channel out in the eelgrass bed or where the shellfish are, so that we would maintain most of the channel, and we would simply make a revision to the involved regulatory agencies to recover the sand that's building up on the west side of Far Pond Inlet, and also the sand that's overtopping the salt marsh to the north of Far Pond Road, and put that material along the trustee property and plant it to beach grass and stabilize the area so that the town trustee property doesn't erode as much as it has in the past. We don't want to change the way the dredge channel meanders out into the bay. There's shellfish on either side of the channel. There's eelgrass beds on either side of the channel. We're talking about mechanical dredging, only those areas from the edge of the sand to the north into Far Pond, and doing it mechanically instead of doing it hydraulically. And if it was dredged this way in the future, the sand that's recovered can be used to stabilize the end of Far Pond Road and the trustee's property there. And then the town probably will not have to do much maintenance. The channel could always be dredged by the county thereafter, and then any incidental dredging would be minor and easy to accomplish using a permit that goes to the north and the west. That's basically it.
Jim, just for the edification of the public, maybe if you would just explain the difference between mechanical and hydraulic dredging, and just a little bit of the process with that.
Hydraulic dredging is expensive, and it's done using sophisticated equipment, powerful pumps. Routinely, the town trustees generally rely on Suffolk County Department of Public Works to do hydraulic dredging. Mechanical dredging can be done a number of ways, most often with a backhoe. Sometimes with a long reach excavator, which is a glorified bigger backhoe. But in this particular case, you would simply use a backhoe, take the sand, place it in front of Far Pond Road, in front of the town trustee property, stabilize it with beach grass, and move the channel back to where it historically was, and not interfere at all with the county channel, but maintain the channel more in line with where it always was, to avoid sand washing over the salt marsh to the north of Far Pond Road and to rebuild the trustee property at the end of the road. That's basically it.
So did you have a diagram that you drew up for us, I believe?
Yeah, it was a quick diagram.
Do we have that, James, or we could look at that? So we maybe can breathe some life into this.
We sent it to Suffolk County Department of Public Works.
And, you know, we did get a response back, but I don't know if we have it as part of our packet, so we'll have to take a look at that. I think something just came in.
That's it.
Friday, I don't think it's got.
It hasn't gotten through to us yet, but I think something did come back from them.
So remarks on this?
I believe-
Comments
yes.
On this proposal?
I believe so, so we'd have to,
That's important.
yes, it is important, but go ahead, Jim, you want to breathe some life into
We're turning the channel to the north and west. And again, the reason being is that's where the old channel was. But more importantly, pick up the sand, put it at the end of Far Pond Road. Also, get the sand off the salt marsh that existed always next to town trustee property. Restore the elevations there, take the sand and use it for a good purpose, which is protection of the town road and the trustees' property. Probably this material historically was placed there, but more recently, the county has pumped sand up to the eastern end of where Middle Pond Inlet is. Has a lot of local names, Roscoe Island. Anyways, putting the sand up at the other end makes that beach really big, and that's nice. But it starved the end of the trustee property, and it could be easily corrected with hydraulic backhoe. It's an excavator job, it's easy to do, it's something that can be done fairly inexpensively and correct a lot of things. Short of asking the county to hydraulically dredge in a different manner than they're used to and probably overextending their crew, this is the correct way to fix a problem.
And will this work be done from land?
Yes.
From the east side?
It can be done from both sides, but typically it's the same as you do in Mecox.
Okay.
You work from dry land that can be shaped by the first few buckets of sand that the excavator pulls out, and then you build across, and then you recover the sand as you go to the north and the west, and you reshape the inlet back to where historically it was, in the meanwhile turning the backhoe and putting the sand on the beach. The sand, once it's placed on the beach in front of the town trustee property in front of Far Pond Road, will have to be shaped. But that's also a very modest job. Any reasonable excavator can do it. Certainly the town contractors are familiar with this type of work because they do it at Mecox. So that kind of approach is very practical and reasonable.
We could probably handle some of that in-house based on, you know, what we're trying to protect their town infrastructure.
It can be handled, it's designed to be a practical solution to a kind of a chronic problem.
And you said it would be planted.
Should be planted to beach grass. Beach grass will start to stabilize the end of the road, which is nice. It will also start to stabilize the trustee property that was always there. And that trustee property has eroded back a long distance since I was in college. That's where we dug sandworms to go flounder fishing. There are a lot of clams on that flat. Shouldn't touch the flat, shouldn't touch the eelgrass beds. This is designed to take sand and put it on the other side of the inlet and make a nice restoration project at the end of the road.
Back where it belongs.
See any potential for adverse impacts to the property to the west there?
To the west?
The sandbar,
Yeah.
we're gonna take some sand off that sandbar, put it on the other side of the inlet, and no, it's not gonna cause any problems. We're not going as far as the first vegetation that you see where the Shinnecock
Yep.
Hills writing is. We can't go past that far yet. This project's designed to be
So you see no issue at all?
modest, small, and practical. Pick up the sand, put it on the other side. shape it, and plant it to beach grass.
All right.
Right. I know Mark raised an issue of concern, perhaps something like that, right?
What issue are you referring to?
No, the property to the west, I thought you were concerned about.
Well, the way the chart shows it there, the boot on the right to the east, and then the white outline, and then the area to the left, if we did it as identify, parcel both of those before the accretion on the west and the depletion on the east, show town as being owned by Town of Southampton, not Town of Southampton trustees. So I would recommend outreach to the town, to their appropriate liaison for this kind of project. And also, since it involves the moving of a canal, that it may trigger a secret type 1 analysis. So that's it from a legal perspective.
But I know you had voiced some concerns, so I
Yeah.
just want
Well,
to give
you
you the
also have-
opportunity to.
You have to overlay the Shinnecock Beach Road, which is a 50-foot roadway that we own along that stretch too. So you overlay that, and most of the area in question is under the Shinnecock Beach Road.
Well, that may be true.
But
The
we-
canal,
yeah.
I think, would be being cut through property that's extended upon property that's showing now in GIS as Southampton
Right,
Town.
well, we would have to look at that Shinnecock Beach Road, because a lot of times it's not there's an inaccuracy there that creates confusion. But I just wanted to give you the opportunity, since you raised the issue, to get it, on the table. Okay, is there any questions from the board here, from the board, to Mr. Walker, no, from the board, for Mr. Walker at this point in time? You good? All right, so now, thanks, I'm going to let the public speak at this point in time.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
All right, so if we can, like I said, we'll have an opportunity. I guess you want to speak
I'm just going to
public?
ask the gentleman a question.
All right, you gotta address, and this is really for the board to get, but go ahead.
It should be to us to
It
ask.
should be to us, yeah, ask us what your concerns are.
Don Schwartz, 59 Far Pond. I just wanted to find out how many feet west the proposal is, and if it'll do the things that we've always asked for, protect the road, protect the beach, stop the erosion, and give us access to the beach.
That's, all your concerns are there?
He has to sign it.
Yeah, you gotta state your name for the record, sign in. I know you stated your name, but if you
You
could
have to
sign
write,
in.
there's a list up there? He said,
So Jim, if you
Yeah,
want to take
that's
some
there.
notes, okay, and then we'll hear everybody out, and then maybe at the end, we can perhaps answer.
No, I
some-
think we're going to take the
Is it-
testimony and then.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I said,
reconvene.
he's gonna
Paper
take
ahead.
some notes,
Yeah.
and then
I
at
don't
some
know.
point, we'll
Oh,
address them.
okay.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
sign the paper? Did you
Did
sign
you-
the paper?
Yes.
Mr. Schwartz, did you write your name down on the
sure.
sign-in sheet, please? Thank you.
Yeah. So we'll listen to the concerns, and at some point, we'll do some research, and we'll be able to respond to these. This is not gonna get resolved today. Thank you. Okay, anybody else wants to address the board on what the concerns are for or against the Far Pond? Thank you.
Andrew Tarika, 19 Far Pond Road. I just wanted to add a little to Don. Is the plan, do you think the plan will result in the beach filling in the rock revetment at the end of the road? Like, is that going to be a continuous beach at the end of the day when the project is completed? Just adding to his, so that we would have access continual beach to Middle Pond. Is that the plan?
Okay, so mark that down, sign in.
And one other thing, will it also result in better water flow to the pond for boating
Okay,
access?
so water flow,
I live on the end of the pond. At low tide, we sit in mud. At high tide, we have, maybe a 1 hour window either side of high tide to get in and out. There's a lot of boats on the pond. So that whole holistic approach to continuous beach, protecting the road, and the flow of water are the main three concerns
right,
that.
and also rest assured that as you're speaking, I am fairly confident that other regulatory authorities are on Zoom watching. Perhaps they're not going to opine, but they're going to listen and hear what your concerns are, because it's not just the trustees that have the ability to make the decision on what occurs. There are other regulatory branches that are going to make a determination on whether they concur or not concur. So when you voice the concerns, and anybody else, everyone else is watching and listening to what the concerns are. And that's why I say nothing's going to get resolved today. It's a process.
Got it. Appreciate it. Thanks for the time.
Okay?
I'm sorry. Don Schwartz again, I forgot something. Andrew reminded me about the access for the boats, but more importantly than the boats would be the making the pond healthy again, to make sure that we have the birds and the fish. We want access, we want boating, but we want to keep a healthy pond also, which is really important to a lot of people.
Sure, of course. Thank you. Okay.
Hi, Boris Zotz, 41 Far Pond Road. Thank you for the opportunity. Similar concerns to my neighbors, boat access. I was required by town to change the dock to environmentally friendly dock, and whether this impact what kind of impact will this channel, make of channel, changes to the channel be made to the water flow, boating access, and most importantly, water health and fishing.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Ralph Applebaum. I live at 31 Far Pond Road. My family lives at 33, so we have a lot of frontage along Far Pond. Everyone said all the right things, but I wanted to reiterate access to the east side beach, which is public beach, which is prevented by the rock prevent. And I know we've been talking about the channel, but hopefully that fill will make a continuous beach all the way to the end of Far Pond Road. Thank you.
Ellen Zafarek from 30 Far Pond Road. I'd like to read this on behalf of my neighbors who are not here today, who are Dory Clissis, 53 Far Pond Road, Paul and Kara Farza, and Nicole Gimmel from 48 Far Pond Road, Pete and Jane Hunsinger, 2 Bayberry Cove Lane, Darren Baggert, 42 and 44 Far Pond Road, Mary Beth Antonello, 34 Far Pond Road, Wayne Fochland from 38 Far Pond Road, and John Olson from 56 Far Pond Road. Due to the constraints, we are unable to attend today's trustee hearing regarding the movement of the channel into Far Pond Road to go back to where it was decades ago. The rebuilding of the previously existing beach at the time of Far Pond Road, and our access to the public shoreline and the town owns land to the east of 72 Far Pond Road. We are 100% in support of all 3 actions. They are extremely necessary for the survival of the shoreline, to the return of our rights to access public taxpayer-funded land, and the protection of Far Pond and access for the Far Pond residents to Shinnecock Bay. Every trustee was given a copy of the extensive environmental study done by Mark Burns, PhD. Dr. Burns has a specialty in coastal sedimentation processes and regional response of beaches, inlets, and estuaries to incident, wave, and current processes. We have analyzed and led an extensive array of projects with the focus. We believe this his expertise, makes his analysis the most qualified of any individual, and his analysis was also reiterated by Dr. Robert Young, who the trustees engaged in this and many other services. In permitting the additional rock revetment of 72 Far Pond Road. The trustees continually stated this was just the first step in a project to restore the beach at the end of Far Pond Road, the community's access to the public shoreline east, and to move the channel west. And yet, all that has occurred so far is the installation of this revetment, a perpendicular structure similar to a jetty, which of course has accelerated erosion and movement of material into the current channel. The project must be complete, or you will continue to allow the complete destruction of a once environmentally vibrant area. We voice our strong support for this project and urge you, Suffolk County and the DEC, to recognize the importance of a quick timeline to fruition. Thank you.
If you want, you can hand that in.
Yeah.
We'll stamp it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sweetie. Thank you.
My name's Bill Safarik, and I live at 30 Far Pond Road. My concern, or a question, is I've been coming out here since the early 60s, and we used to walk down Far Pond Road, and you could make a left. That's when the cottages were there and stuff, and you can use that whole beach east of that canal. Right now, you can't because of the rock wall and stuff. When you do this, would we have access to east of that canal?
The address.
Yeah, you have to address that.
Okay.
I mean, obviously.
Okay, no, I was just wondering, you know.
We're trying to get the comments of people that are for, I mean, obviously, we're trying to improve access, we're trying to improve water quality.
Right.
We're trying to do all of this
Right.
stuff. It's just that the method and process that you need to go through to get there is complex. There's no like easy answer to any of this. And as we all understand, there are other regulatory authorities that have a say.
Right.
And if it's not going to work, and there are other people that come in and say, this is not going to work, then we got to figure something else out.
Yeah.
Because, back in 1960, I looked different. We all did. The whole place did. We understand that. So we're
Right.
battling all of that. So we're not going to have all these answers for you today.
No,
But your concerns we need
okay.
to hear your concerns
Okay,
so that we know whether we're for this, we're against this, so that the trustees know and the other regulatory authorities know to stay engaged in the process. Or is everyone just like, forget it? And
Right.
no one, so
Right.
that's what it's about.
Okay.
We're not going to have every,
Right.
with a built-in, guarantee.
No,
Yeah.
my concern, okay, if you want to know my concern, I'm concerned about the beach, okay? And what I'm trying to explain to you is that years ago, you could get there, right? Fine. And I understand that the waterways and everything changes everything. Also, the person on the end there that built the rock wall, right? That had a lot to do with changing of the tides and stuff like that, all right? What I was wondering is, if this is complete and everything else like that, are you taking into consideration to have access to the east of that channel all the way down to the other channel? Do you understand what I'm saying? For the last few years, you would bring in some sand, right, and put it from the first channel, and we would have a little beach, right, up to the rock wall, all right? You couldn't get around that rock wall because, the water was there. You can get around it maybe at low tide, So my concern, not my concern, but my interest was, if this all goes through and everything, I would hope that we could have access to that Long Beach also.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
There you go. Thank you.
That's my concern,
Thank
all right?
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is William H. King Jr. I am a resident or have used the house at 94 Middle Pond Road since my grandfather owned it, and I support the concept of bringing the channel back to where it was and also gaining access to the east. I remember as a child that the channel was somewhat S-shaped, which is similar to what it seemed like you were describing. And I also remember the trustees using mechanical mechanism to dredge out the channel and dump the sand at the end, which kept the erosion down because it localized the sand placement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King.
Yes, right.
Come on, Jill.
Jill Schwartz, 66 Far Pond. I want to say though that what Bill just said about in the 60s, I moved here in the early 90s. The rock revetment, the first one, had just gone in. We had plenty of sand. I mean, it's a risk of boring, I won't.
Hey, Jill, can you pull that mic down?
Sure. Okay. I know what Bill said about the 60s. I came here in the early 90s. The rock revetment, the first one had just come in. We had plenty of sand, plenty of access. Pictures are on here. You've seen them a million times. Doesn't matter. It has changed. My questions for Jim Walker are, could you write this up in a synopsis so that we can present it to Mark Burns, the coastal erosion expert we hired, who has a different plan than Jim is proposing. Can you also either take that, overhead that was there and actually draw on it so we can understand exactly, or take the sketch that you had done and do the measurements so we can, there are no measurements on that sketch, so it was very difficult to understand exactly how far over that channel was going, where exactly the dredge spoils were going. For the beach grass that you're talking about planting across the end of the road, then how do we have access to the shoreline? Because we're not going to walk through beach grass. So how do you get to the shoreline? How do you launch your kayak? And then how do we get access, which is what we've been promised, was access to the shoreline east, because that's public land. We can't get it. I recognize, the need for Mr. Malkinson to protect his house, but we have to come to some sort of homeostasis here, so that the rest of the community has what's their right, and his home is protected. I stand by Mark Burns. As you know, you all have his copy of his report. This is his expertise. He says it's a relatively simple fix if you wanted to, he's done this multiple times on small projects like ours and large-scale projects. And I know Jim Walker has that, and I'd also like to know if Jim Walker might be able to just write up a comparison, why his plan versus Mark Burns, or is his plan a first step, and if it doesn't work, then do we continue on with, and the next step of looking at Mark Burns's plan? And those are my questions.
Okay. Thank you. I think that it's also important to understand it's not just this plan or that plan, because you have other regulatory authorities that may disagree with all the plans. They may have their own idea.
Understood.
And I think that's what this process is about. This process is about everybody, evaluating what the concerns of this community are and making a determination in realistic terms how we deal with it. And I appreciate you all coming here. I appreciate your input. It's important.
Understood. I know that the way you described it to me was at this point you were to give a proposal to Suffolk County.
Well, we did that, and they sent something back to us that we all have not had time to meet, but I also had conversations with folks at the state that are also looking at this, and at the end of the day, we all have to get modifications, permit modifications, to have the authority to do any of this. And if somebody has an issue, that's it, and we deal with that on even the big dredge projects that we have. So until you get the discussion and you get the concerns and you get, this voice from the community on the table, nothing's going on. See, at least now we got something going on, and we'll at least know more as we go forward here. So I appreciate you taking the time to come down here with everybody else, because without that collaboration, it's hard to get anything done.
So when do you think that you will be submitting, gathering the information from this hearing? And I don't know if you have
But we're doing that now. We know we
No.
have something from the county. We haven't had time to review that. And, you and I both know probably other regulatory authorities are watching this as we're speaking right now. And then we'll see what their commentary is. So there's a lot of moving parts going on here.
As soon as
As
possible.
soon as we,
So if you were a betting man, and
Which
you
I'm
know-
not.
I know, well, you know that the experiences with the Suffolk County and the
Yeah.
DEC, how long do you think it will take to come to the point?
I-
where-
You can't say that.
You want to explain the dredging window?
You can't.
well, no, I would be,
Joe, you're asking us to give you a date.
I expect
When
No,
it's
I'm
totally
asking you to
impossible.
give me a year.
a year is more appropriate. I mean,
A
if
year.
you think about it, with the dredging windows and the spawning fish and the birds and what it takes to, I know what it takes, and again, the folks at the county work very, very hard with the town trustees over what's on the priority dredge list, you know what I mean, to get things done. And you guys, you've had dredging done in this area in the past. We know how hard that is, getting everybody on the same page, because everyone has their concerns, and I respect that, and you have to kind of address everybody's concerns. And that's what you're doing with your folks that you've hired. That's what the trustees spoke to Mr. Walker about, getting an idea. I'm sure the county has their folks as well. Let's just stay engaged in this process. We're at a public hearing, we're getting input, we got documentation back from the county after we forwarded. We have not, as board members, had the time to review it. I know James mentioned it came in, but I don't think it got into the flow of our review yet. Let's let that play out, and then we could have a conversation. We're not going to resolve this today, so we're going to, adjourn this to another day to keep moving the ball forward. Mark McRedmond expressed some concerns that the town had relative to this. So we're going to have to be addressing things as we go, but there's going to be a date on the calendar for us to continue this conversation. And hopefully at every meeting that we have, we put another piece of this puzzle together. That's my hope.
And can we see, after you review it, the response from Suffolk County?
I don't, it's public documents, right?
Yeah, I think once
can
we
have
get
it for the next
your
meeting.
input, put it together. I'm going to reach out to Mr. Walker and have a conversation with him, get Mr. Burns' study, try to see what the two say, whether one works or the other, and then we're going to have another meeting. We'll have a meeting with the county and the DEC, because at the end of the day, nothing's going to get done. Even if we come up with this most wonderful plan and everything looks perfect here, until we get the blessing from the Army Corps and the county. And, it's moving a channel or new dredging, which this is going to be new dredging. It's a secret one review. This is a big thing. And if we do all of this, and we do get a permit to do all this, and the county goes, well, we're not going to do that, you're going to have to do it in-house. Well, then we're going to have to figure out how we're going to do it in-house, how we're going to pay for a contractor, how we're going to pay for the project. So there's a lot of moving projects. And I could say in the 17 years that I've sat on this board, I've done a lot of projects. We did the first environmental dredging in Honey Pot Pond. We did look at this site for a deposition site. I was with Karen Grolick and George Hammerth, and they said it wouldn't work. Unfortunately, we did bring them there. We did show them the site, and they said no. So we're going to have to advocate even harder to fill this area in and to use it now. So, I think getting your input and working with all the parts and coming up with a plan is the best way to go about it. I know you feel frustrated that it's not getting done right away, but we have moved sand 2 years in a row and put it in front of that road end to see how long it would stay there. It stays there about 3 or 4 months, so we know moving 200 or 300 cubic yards of material is only going to get us X amount of time. So maybe if we have 10 times X and putting it there, it might stay longer. The worst case scenario is to put something there and having the project just wash away in a matter of weeks.
But the reality is, you gotta let the process play out, and it's playing out.
That's one question, I'm glad you raised it, for Mr. Walker, was How long does he think it lasts? I mean, you know, we still have this, does that erosion pressure go away because the channel's not moved as far as Mark Burns said to take it away? And then we have the rock revetment. So are we gonna, you know, is it gonna be doing the same thing?
I don't have a crystal ball to answer that.
No, I was
you know.
asking Mr. Walker.
I don't think
No,
he
not
even
public
get-
Let's, no, but hold on. This is a public hearing. Hold
Yeah.
on. Hold on, time out. So look, we're making a cake here, we're following the recipe, we're combining the steps, it's gonna be not tasting too good. Let's march our way through this thing. You guys are making great commentary. We're taking down notes. The other regulatory authorities are watching. Let's keep chugging our way through this thing. You bring up a lot of great points, you always do. And it keeps people engaged, and I really greatly appreciate that. And I see Jim is diligently taking notes there to address. I like to get things resolved like you do, but I'm a realist. I know what we're up against. Okay?
Okay.
All right?
All right.
Thank you, Jill.
Thank you, Joe.
Hang on, sir. You guys, I'm trying to get like one shot. Is it something that somebody hasn't already said? All right, but I'm trying to give people like one shot at this. That way we'd be here
Is
all
there
day.
anybody that hasn't been?
Anybody
heard?
hasn't had a commentary yet that wants to speak? Okay, all right, wait, Mr. Malkinson hasn't had a chance to speak yet, he can speak. Now, I want to also just caution everybody here. This is about request to alter the path of the proposed dredge project at Far Pond. That's what the purpose of this public hearing is for. So if we can stay focused on that, that's what we're trying to resolve.
I just want to commend the board for, you know, starting in on dealing with, you know, an issue that I've only known about for 6 years, because that's only how long I've been here, but that it's been a thorny issue that's been around for a long time. And I really appreciate that, you know, the wheels are turning in terms of trying to figure out, you know, the best way to address this. So I just want to express my appreciation and hopes that we can, you know, move forward in some fashion. I do, and to the extent that the county is listening in, I think that part of the problem, and you know, I'm certainly not an environmental engineer or have a lot of experience, but the county policy, which has, at least as I understand it, has required the deposition of dredge spoils to be at least 500 feet from the dredge site, has been a chronic contributor to the problem. And I don't know if this, you know, now that if this plan goes forward where there would be mechanical dredging, which is my understanding the way the dredging was done decades ago, would affect that. But I would just encourage the county to consider, you know, to the extent it's a concern of theirs, that a one-size-fits-all solution like the 500-foot rule, which has been detrimental to this particular problem, is something that I would hope that they would understand. You know, perhaps in this case, an exception might be appropriate to be made, you know, to restore the beach and the walkway around and all those things. So anyway, I just, that's pretty much what I had to say. I appreciate the effort and the, you know, concern going into tackling, you know, what's potentially a thorny multi-agency problem. And so,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay, so it's got some folks that want to take another shot, which we generally don't do, but you guys are all behaving nicely. It's a good public hearing, but be brief.
So William Kent, one point, it's really to bring the channel back to where it was. So you're mentioning it as a new channel, and actually it's through over time that the channel has been altered, that it's really bringing it back to where it was. And I again remember as a child using the channel, and it was being basically S-shaped. So, you know, it's an important thing to consider.
I can clarify that any dredge project that's over 10 years old is considered new dredging.
Okay.
Yeah, but thank you for your historical references and your testimony.
And And one other question, the sandbar to the west on Middle Pond is forming again. It was recently dredged and it's forming again, and I'm wondering if it's not the sand migrating down the beach. It's causing erosion at Far Pond, and it's actually building up on the western side of the inlet to Middle Pond, if these two problems aren't related. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Bill Savaric again, 30 Far Pond Road. I just have one quick question. As we're marching through the process, as we say, temporarily, will you bring in some sand so we could use a little bit of the beach like this year?
I think that's been occurring regularly.
I think you brought it in 2 years ago.
No,
and
I
it-
think
and
some
it-
came in there not too long ago.
That's just the road end.
Oh.
Yeah.
And it lasted about 2 years, you know?
It lasts about we did it twice,
Maybe.
and it lasted about 6 months. I did get an estimate for the project, and it was about double what it was last year when we did it, so I'm trying to shop around and see if we can find a contractor or
Great.
maybe the town highway department to help us out to move some of that sand.
Yeah, no, we're working on it.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Okay,
I think there was one more.
is there one more? Okay. You got the whole apple almost there, buddy.
I should also thank the Board of Trustees for taking the time to hear all of our complaints. You're probably tired of hearing the same thing over and over and over again. I brought Rob Young's report. I was going to read that for the 30th, 40th time, but I'll spare you for that. I thank you for taking the time to listen to our grievances, but we've been doing this since 2019, and it's going to take probably several more years. In the meantime, last weekend, they came down, they dumped 4 loads of sand down at the end of our street, blocks off the whole beach. You can't get down the road. We have a rock revetment to the left, and we have 4 feet of sand to the right. There's no access to our beach at all. So,
I will ask.
maybe I'll use the
I will
beach
ask
to
the.
the east. Excuse me.
Highway superintendent.
We're
Excuse me.
I'll contact our maintenance guys and have them bring the skid steer down and level it off. I was there today, and it needs to be leveled off and put, so we'll take care
Well,
of
the
that.
highway superintendent, deputy highway superintendent has been
Well,
very,
so it's been 2 weeks, they haven't leveled it off, and you can't get down the street.
but I
Because-
spoke to him earlier today, and we have communication that's going on. So it
Okay.
just, there's it's a big town.
I
There's a
know,
lot
I
going
know,
on.
I know.
We-
And
we
and there's a lot
appreciate-
going on. In the
Right.
meantime, the boaters can't get their boats out. We can't get it down our street to use the beach.
Right.
And the public access that we have to the east,
Right.
we don't have.
Yeah.
So we have the public who can't use the public beach, either on the east side or the west side of the revetment. So while this other thing is taking place, which we really do appreciate, we really, really do, but it's going to take years. And in the meantime, we can't use our beach. So,
Okay, we got you.
all right.
All right. Who else? And remember, this is about the dredging.
I know, I'm sorry.
It's a public hearing.
I just wanted to ask what Bill asked. Do you intend to have Chesterfield move sand to make your pseudo
We,
beach
we,
for a
we
few
don't know where
months?
we're at with that yet. When you say you're naming specific contractors and whatnot, we're still working on that. You know what I mean? We're still working on that.
So the-
We are working diligently, as you're aware, with the highway department, because we all have some objectives that we're concerned about down there. We had some conversations earlier today, and we're trying to figure out how best to achieve all these goals, but we're having internal conversations about that.
Okay, you mean the temporary goal, not...
Well, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, ignoring the
Obvi-
name, I said, did you plan on moving some of that migrated west to
We're
you
trying
guys?
to
Okay.
orchestrate this, but there's a
All
lot of moving parts, as he said, but we are having conversations about this, but we don't have anything definitive yet. But we are working on it,
Okay, thanks.
okay? All right, I think we're pretty much good to adjourn this public hearing to a later date, I think.
Anyone on Zoom?
What?
Anyone on Zoom?
Thank you.
Oh, is there anyone on Zoom who wants to? Good point. I was zooming my way out of this thing. For a temporary period of time, anyway.
Charles, is there anyone?
Anybody got a hand up? Want to speak?
No, sir.
Is there anybody even on Zoom, hopefully?
Yes.
Okay, no one wants to talk about this topic.
I don't see any hands.
Okay.
All right, thank you,
So,
Charles.
When do you think, Ed, we need to put this over to? Is this going to be,
Yeah.
we still haven't reviewed any county information.
I know.
Our next meeting's June 5th, and
No.
then the meeting after that is June 26th.
How about June 26th? That
And
way it
then-
would give us some time to.
That would give us
Sure
some
that's
time.
the right date?
Yeah.
All right, so you want to make a motion?
Make a motion that we put it off to June 26th.
The other-
No.
No,
We're going to do the research on it, and at the next session, we will,
I don't want to piecemeal it. I want to
Let's-
get, you know,
let's get good information, and let's
Yes.
get, at least read the commentary that came in from the county, and see if there's any further commentary coming in from any of the other regulatory authorities, so that we can address it all, I think, in a more holistic fashion. So I think it would suit us all better that way. Otherwise, we're just going to be spinning our wheels.
yes.
So there's a motion on the floor to adjourn the public hearing to the 26th of June.
Because the next meeting after that would be July 17th.
Right, so is there a second?
Second.
So seconded by Trustee Pell. Are we all in favor for that adjournment?
All right.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim,
That public hearing is adjourned.
and everybody else.
Okay,
you,
thank you
everyone.
for participating. Public portion. So anybody that is here to address the board on the public
The
portion?
next meeting? Yeah.
3 minutes to address the board on something other than this, you're here for public portion, sir?
Mr. Medio's here, that's a private road indicator.
If you could state your name, sign in 3 minutes, we'll see what we can do for you.
Thank you. My name is Michael Medio. I live in Watermill. I've been there for, I've been in the house, I'm in 30 years today. I'm here to talk about my boat slip. I'm in slip number 1 on Woolly Pond. That when the trustees opened up Woolly Pond for 3 slips, I was very eager to get in there, and I did because I was one of the first people that entered in. While there, I've experienced some difficulties with the operator of the marina. There's several, probably more than I could fit into 3 minutes, quite frankly. I was initially here, I was going to read an email I had sent to each one of you individually a few weeks ago. I don't think I need to read that into the minutes now because when I walked in, Mr. Pell advised me that the marina owners have agreed to properly stake and delineate the property lines between the marina and either the freeholders or the town of Southampton. I can't seem to get a clear answer on whether or not the landward side of the bulkhead belongs to the trustees or the town. In any event, the marina has taken certain liberties to re-landscape town property, trustees' property. It belongs to one or the other and not the marina, which was made clear by the most recent survey that was submitted to the town on February 28th. My biggest concern, and once she delineates the properties there, the marina delineates the property line, that some of the complaints will come to better light. But, and there's no need for anyone to push the issue until they see who owns what. However, next to the slip where my boat, I back into the slip, as you're probably aware, and the other 2 lay to. I'm the closest one to the facility that's operated by the marina. And if you look, in the bottom of that picture, you can see a plastic, that's where my boat goes, where the arrow is. So you see a plastic dock way back in the corner there.
On front, on another bulkhead.
You see the plastic, you can barely, that is a dock. That is about a 4-foot wide plastic dock. And south of that are some jet ski floats. So the plastic dock there, for a while, it actually stuck into my slip. And while it was in my slip, the marina put in a decorative piece of hardware, which is 2 anchors, crisscrossing, very heavy, very jagged. My lines constantly got twisted up in it. There's no permit for that dock, was never a permit, there was never even an application for that dock to go in. In some areas, it does not fall 10 feet from the property line, which I understand is the criteria. And there's also a metal ramp that goes from the marina side down to that dock. They did, at some point, pull the dock a little closer to the marina. The anchor got a little bit farther away from me, but it's dangerous because when there's boats at the gas dock and boats in those other slips, to pivot and get my boat into my slip, you know, sometimes you get a little bit askew, and when I do, I'm hitting that big anchor. I don't see the purpose for the anchor other than they obviously did not want me to be able to access my boat by walking down that dock and simply stepping onto my boat, which I've only done once, and I was asked never to do it again. I then asked the trustees for permission to put a boarding ladder. I bought a set of stainless steel stairs, which cost me about $1,000 to be able to get on my boat because I was not able to do so safely at the time. I was also advised by them not to go on the bulkhead that is on the port side of my boat when I'm in my berth. That is clearly owned by the trustees, as depicted in the most recent survey. So I do use that now to put my gear and stuff so I can reach up and put it on my boat, now that I realize it belongs to the freeholders. So I do have quite a few concerns about how they're operating their marina and how they're just taking over the freeholders' properties to help run their business. They're currently displaying new boats for sale, and one of them is parked on trustee or town land. They did move one initially, and there was one left, and now there are two there again. So there are some issues there, but first and foremost, that dock that should not be there, that has this horrendous anchor on the end of it, I feel like it needs to get moved, and it needs to get moved sooner rather than later, because I'm buying new ropes every year because it totally frays the ropes I have, and it's dangerous. Someone's going to get hurt by this thing. You know, if somebody tried to get off my boat in a hurry because there was a fire and impaled themselves on these sharp, jagged, arrow-like tips to the anchor, this would be a problem. And I think we need to nip this problem in the butt, quite frankly. And that's really all I have to say. In closing, I would just like to thank you for doing what you do. You know, I know I've been on a lot of boards, and I know it can be thankless sometimes, but thank you for doing what you do. And I'd appreciate if there could be some intervention to help me get some relief from this anchor that's put there that's really causing issues on a dock that does not have a permit, never did, didn't even get applied for.
Mark,
Can you go back 5 years on that?
Mark, you want to address that, any of this?
You know, there's a few issues I'll have to look into a little further, specifically whose property is whose.
Right.
What year is that?
But can the trustees weigh in on whether or not the 4-foot dock is attached to trustee property?
Can you go back?
Well, I think, you know,
Can you go back another couple more years? I want to see where the dock showed up.
It's over the extended property.
Oh, no, it's not there, so it's after 2014. And also did have a complaint over the weekend. On that one of the slip holders went down to use his boat, and there was no parking space at. He brought his boat in, and his wife came down and picked him up. All the cars were filled.
Okay.
I mean, I've had that happen to me a few times in the summer, and
this is
I just,
From the restaurant, from the marina's restaurant.
Right. So if that's is it a floating dock?
Floating
The 4
dock,
foot attached, if it's attached to trustee property minus a permit, then it should get a letter from the trustees, go to the marina owner requesting that he apply for a permit.
I don't know if it's physically attached to that bulkhead, sir. I do know that it's right up against the bulkhead. It might have its own plastic poles down into the ground holding the backside of it.
Right, but either way, if it's tied to the anchor to, fixed to
And
the
it has,
trustee's.
also has tie-up poles.
There's a boat in it at the very last slip there, right there. There is a boat there, and you can tell by the most recent survey, which you see the delineation line, though you can't, from the copy I got, you can't read any of the measurements. I feel like that's another opportunity for the trustees to put a fourth boat in there and make some more money, because it's clearly in front of the trustees' bulkhead. And it's a boat rented through the marina.
You got a couple of questions you need answered. Can you go on the legal side of this? Since it's going to, you know, involve a component of enforcement, which we know where that falls, we're going to need you to work on this?
Let's also keep in mind that there's an application before this board by the marina. So, I mean,
For what?
there have been, for dredging.
Well,
And there's been some statements made here today that are questionable at best, so, I'd really like to keep in mind.
we still have to look at from the legal aspect, which is why I'm looking to Mark over who owns what and, what is permitted, what is not permitted, and just clean it up. And I think that, since the enforcement's gonna fall on the town, even if it's the trustees, our arrangement is that you handle that enforcement, that we tighten this whole thing up so that we don't have unsafe facilities and that we don't have encroachments on town or town trustee facilities, and that it all makes sense. So,
Absolutely, may be worth having George go down, just take a look at it, so we have someone who actually knows what the floating dock looks like. How were you able to access your boat prior to that dock being placed there?
Well, when I put the boat in that slip for the very first time, this is my third season, so 2 years ago. The first time I went in there, I rigged up a pulley system to the trustees had put in some 4x4 poles. And I had a pulley system, and without going onto that plastic dock, I would have had a difficult time getting off the boat. It was low tide at the time. At high tide, it's fairly easy to step off onto the bulkhead to the port side. So,
Right, but you stepped
I was
off
approached by
the
marina
bulkhead.
faculty, and they said, I'm not to walk on that dock.
Right, did you?
And I didn't from that point forward. I found this set of sea stairs. I emailed the trustees, and I was granted permission to put this set of sea stairs on their bulkhead.
Gotcha.
And that way I can
Just wondered how
easily
you got to
access
the
my
boat
boat
before.
back and forth.
It's unfortunate that this whole experience is counter to what's supposed to be an enjoyable recreation of boating.
I agree.
It seems as though it's a source of aggravation for you versus
It has been, yes, but,
recreation, you know what I mean? So it's like, how do you get it to be where it's supposed to be? You know what I mean? I think that,
for the most part, I try to ignore it and just enjoy my boat and go in and out. But when someone becomes an obstructionist and pretty much tells you that, you're not wanted in the facility at all, it's a little disheartening.
Let's just try
yeah,
to keep to the
let Mark
facts here.
take a look and see what we can do, what we can't do, what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, because, we're just all about people safely and
I get it, yeah,
enjoying
that's all
the
I'm asking. I
recreation.
don't expect anybody to jump up and down and have this sorted out by midnight, obviously.
We might end up getting this surveyed ourselves.
That's what I had asked for in my original letter, because I didn't feel like the proprietors, it was in their best interest to do it, because they'd have to move some of the things that they've encroached on the town land with.
Surveyors licensed people, and if we have a survey, it should be, should be correct in theory.
I don't know where the paperwork is.
Mark, you kind of know what to do with this?
I do, yeah, I'll look into whatever I can find out who owns what, and maybe it's an opportunity for the trustees in the future to entertain a permanent dock in that position, that this gentleman and others could walk over to get to their slip or slips as well.
You'll have to take a look at this a little closer, but
Just to be clear, the other two boat owners, they lay to, and they have a wooden staircase or wooden ladder that was put in by the trustees many years ago for transient docks, so they don't have the issue. And this brings me to my next point, which I had talked to Bill about. I have new locust poles that are going in. For the last 2 seasons, I've been on 4x4 posts, which they're not really adequate. I have a 25-foot Boston Whaler, and
Fiberglass poles.
so new fiberglass poles.
Trying to
Okay,
find
I'm
someone
sorry.
to put them in.
And, technically, I could have put my boat in on April 15th, according to my agreement. I did let Bill know that I didn't have any intention of being in on April 15th. But if I wanted to go in tomorrow, I couldn't put my boat in, because now there's no poles there. They took away the 4x4 poles that were there, and the boat that went in there to do it wasn't big enough to handle the fiberglass poles, as I understand. So the trustees are now trying to get bids for someone to come in
Well-
and put those poles in for me, but I'm going to be going in a few weeks. However, I don't have a safe way to tie the boat up
do we
right
have a
now.
different facility that would work better for you? I mean, this is like, is there something else to be?
He lives around.
Oh, you live right there?
I live on Blank Lane in Watermill. I grew up on Roses Grove. This is where I've boated my whole life. if, I would love to go somewhere where there's water and such, if you do have an opening somewhere, Conscience Point or something, I don't want to go to Hampton Bays or.
Is there anything at Little Neck?
No.
Nothing at Little?
That's full.
That's a nice new facility.
It's all full.
It's full? There's not one spot for him?
No. It's been full since we opened it up.
It's a nice place.
We did get bids. I'm putting those in. I sent them up to John. I'm just waiting on him
What is that for?
to put those pilings in.
2 poles.
Yeah.
So, yeah, until they're in, I'm on my
I'm
trailer.
hoping within the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, I emailed John, all we need is a reso, really. Because Ron Varnish came in really high in First Coastal.
Still a lot of money.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep, I appreciate your time, thank you.
Mobilization.
Thank you. Thanks,
We're
Mike.
just waiting
Thanks, Mike.
on the reso.
Thank you. Take care. Okay. Anybody else on public portion that would like to address the trustees? Anybody on Zoom? No hands. Okay. So we have some applications for permits that the Board of Trustees waives a public hearing on the following applications because it is determined that the following projects do not raise a significant degree of public interest or public input is not needed to aid the decision-making process.
All right. Trustee Resolution 2023-145, application for 27 Nortless Drive LLC, 27 Nortless Drive, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County, tax map 900-322-3-17, body of water, Wells's Creek. We went over this on work session. It's all compliant, so I recommend its approval.
Seconded, trustees Pell and Welker at the same time. All in favor?
Aye. Trustee Resolution 2023-146, application for the Sutton Family Irrevocable Trust, 34 Oak Lane, Hampton Bays, New York, Suffolk County, tax map 900-32-2-25, body of water, Shinnecock Bay. Again, we went over this at work session, and everything was compliant. I recommend its approval. Need a second?
Second.
Seconded, trustee Welker. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2023-147. This is a first renewal for the application GP 000421, Town of Southampton, Middle Line Highway and Suffolk Street in Sag Harbor, Suffolk County Tax Map 926-2-29.8, the body of water Round Pond. This is for the removal of bulkheads at Round Pond and to install a new bioswale, rain garden, and landscaping plantings. This would be to mitigate and improve stormwater discharge and runoff from Middle Line Highway into Round Pond, and I'd like to recommend the approval.
Second.
Seconded, trustee Warner. All in favor?
Aye.
Next is trustee resolution 2023-148. It's a denial of the application of M. David Warren, 214 Sylvan Avenue, Flanders, New York, Suffolk County, tax map number 900-123-1-41, body of water, Sylvia Royal Canal. We had this at the last session, and we found that it did not meet the Blue Book compliance, and I move that it be denied.
Second.
Seconded, trustee Pell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And just to be very clear, this dock was built without benefit of a permit.
Correct. Trustee Resolution 2023-149, the application of Stephen Harwin, 7 Bay Meadow Lane, West Hampton, New York, Suffolk County tax map number 900-382-1-17.17, body of water, Sandpiper Canal. I'll move this to be adopted.
Second.
Seconded, trustee Pell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so
We already did that one.
we did, that's been put off.
Do we set another date for it? Do
We did that.
already
We did.
did?
And just so you
We did
know,
it
it
as-
is June 26th, not the 19th.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a holiday then the 19th.
Yeah, no, I knew that. So we already put this forward, sorry.
Trustee resolution for 2023-150, budget and finance. The budget transfer from GLSN 99-8790-00-6499-000, contentment to GL 019987006105-000, part-time salary.
So to be clear, this is a transfer from
From one
the
account to the next
village's-
account.
Yep, from the Southampton Village's donation to the Piping Plover program,
Yes.
and just making, then therefore transferring this money.
Housekeeping.
Yeah, I know this is late, but I have someone on Zoom raising their hand. So.
Why
don't we do it when we get into
All right, let's,
We'll do it when we get done.
let's finish this and then we'll get to that, okay? Unless it's relative to this.
I have no idea.
Okay, just,
The amount-
Let's wait.
The amount of $9,850.
okay.
Looking for a second.
Second.
Seconded, trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye. Trustee 2023-152, purchase and trustee, authorized to purchase additional chain and shackles for buoys. Amount of $1,987.00. From trustee, authorized payment to Campbell-Republic Crane and Hoist. The source of funding shall be GL 0199-8700-01-6426-000. The amount not to exceed $1,987, and that is from the town side.
I'll second that.
Seconded, trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2023-153 authorizes payment to Cornell Cooperative Extension of Suffolk County, whereas the trustees of the freeholders authorize Cornell for spawning and seeding of shellfish species, whereas the Resolution 2022-82 authorizes the president to sign a contract with Cornell Cooperative, whereas the trustees of the freeholders agree to pay for spawning and seeding an amount not to exceed $30,950 per calendar year, and whereas the Board of Trustees resolved 2022-1 requires an authorizing resolution for any expenditure in excess of $1,000, and therefore be resolved, the Board of Trustees hereby authorize payment to Cornell for the 2022 invoice in the amount of $30,950. Be it further resolved that the source of funding shall be the Board of Trustees, Stocking Shellfish GL SN 99-8790-00-6456-0000 in the amount of $30,950.
Second.
Seconded, trustee Pell, all in favor?
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2023-155 is to authorize the president to sign an extension of the award agreement with Community Preservation Funds for water quality improvement project funds. This is resolved that the president is authorized to sign the extension of the contract with the Town of Southampton CPF regarding water quality improvement projects pertaining to the award of funding to the trustees of the freeholders in commonality of the Town of Southampton, referred to by the Town Board under Town Board Resolution 2022-905. So this is housekeeping mostly, Mark, right? That we wanted to make sure that we were clear and that we were extending this. Okay, so I'd like to recommend its approval.
Seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2023-154, so resolution in support of Dr. Gobler's grant proposal, whereas Long Island waters are warming, which exacerbates hypoxia, and whereas warming water contributes to a large decline in the lobster population of Long Island, whereas Dr. Christopher Gobler, a SUNY Distinguished Professor and Endowed Chair of Coastal Ecology and Conservation, has submitted a proposal to New York Sea Grant to study the current and future impacts of warming waters and low oxygen on the sustainability of shell fisheries across New York, whereas the trustees of the freeholders in commonality of the Town of Southampton are committed to studying and improving water quality and shellfish populations. Now therefore be it resolved that the trustees fully support Dr. Gobler's grant proposal to study the current and future impacts of warming waters and low oxygen, and be it further resolved that the trustees will provide a letter of support for Dr. Gobler's project, in addition to committing to attend 2 to 3 Zoom meetings over a period of 2 years to learn more about Dr. Gobler's project and help guide his approach. Be it further resolved that the trustees are authorized to sign said letter collectively or to have Scott M. Horowitz, President of the Trustees, sign on their behalf. I'd like to recommend this approval.
Second.
Seconded, trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I've got 2023-156, agreement contracts, leases for the trustees, authorized the President Horowitz to sign agreement for award of Community Preservation Floodwater Quality Improvement Project funds to the Board of Trustees of the Commonalty of the Town of Southampton, whereas the Board of Trustees are in the process of obtaining a 10-year permit from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and Department of State for the dredging and maintenance at Fish Cove Bridge, North Sea, Town of Southampton. Whereas InterScience has submitted prior permit applications on behalf of the trustees and already has all the necessary information and the expertise to submit a new permit application to the New York State DEC, Army Corps, and DOS. Whereas the Board of Trustees Resolution 2022-Trust-02 requires an authorizing resolution for any expenditure in excess of $1,000. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes InterScience to complete and submit a permit application to the regulatory authorities for a 10-year maintenance dredging and Fish Cove Bridge, North Sea. And the source of funding shall be GL SN-99-8790-00-6490-0000 in an amount not to exceed $5,000.
Second.
Seconded, trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye. 2023-157, budget and financing, warrant 09 of 2023. Per recommended review by the town comptroller, the following vendor payment of warrant 09 be approved in the amount of $92,560.89. Robert H. Fox for $2,295, Granger $1,119.39, Joseph Lavada $650, William M. Decker $4,800, Suffolk Environment $1,800, the town of Southampton $86,384.50. We ask for any money left over to be refunded to us, and $92,560.89 total.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded, trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye.
Do we have a walk-on resolution?
Yes, we do.
So I'd like permission to walk on a resolution.
Second.
Seconded, trustee Pell, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You have the second, you should get another copy.
What's this here?
It's to set the dates for the management area of North Sea Harbor.
Okay, so whereas the Board of Trustees finds that the subject project is a type 2 action pursuant to 6 NYCR Part 617, and no further environmental review is required under the State Environmental Quality Review Act. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Freeholders and Commonalty of the Town of Southampton hereby authorizes, pursuant to Article 340, A340, Article 2, Section 16, special authority, the North Sea Harbor Hard Clam Management Zone, to be open for the taking of hard clams by commercial and recreational shellfish harvesters during the following periods. All dates are inclusive. I'll read them. May 22nd, 2023 to May 29th, 2023. June 27th, 2023 to July 4th, 2023. August 29th, 2023 to September 5th, 2023. And December 18th, 2023 to December 31st, 2023.
It should also include Tuesdays in there.
Will further resolve that the area will be
Oh, yeah.
open every Tuesday, beginning May 30th. I'll gladly
I
take
can do the
Tuesday for a hamburger. Tuesday, beginning May 30th, 2023 through September 5th, 2023. And be it further resolved that the harvesting limits are as follows: 2 bushels, not more than 500 clams per bushel of little neck clams a day. All such clams to measure at least 1 inch in thickness. There will be no restrictions on the larger cherry stones and chowder clams. The recreational allowable harvest is 100 clams per day, and be it further resolved that the Southampton Town Bay Constables, Marine Patrol, have been directed to strictly enforce such limits. Davis Creek, which is a seasonably certified creek off of North Sea Harbor, does not follow the same limitations and other commercial harvesting restrictions as the North Sea Harbor Hard Clam Management Zone. Davis Creek is seasonally certified for the harvesting of shellfish from December 1st to April 30th.
Second.
Seconded by trustee Pell. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion walk-on has been adopted.
We got a Zoom.
We have a Zoom. We're We're through
Yeah, my
public
name is
portion.
Dave Warren. I raised my hand when you guys got my permit application. That was 2023-148.
Did we approve it?
I originally had a dock that my neighbor had given me, and that dock I'm giving back to him. The permit is to actually purchase a new dock. So I'm not sure why I was denied. I wasn't aware of any limitations to size for my dock, so.
Well, you have to consult the Blue Book regulations for the Board of Trustees, and it's got the regulations for sizing in that. So who's ever handling this for you, or if you're handling that, you have to.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, so you gotta take a look at that, because we have to comply. We don't have a component to go beyond what you're, to what you're doing. It's just not gonna fit our regulations, so it gave us no option but to deny it. So you can go.
Is there a something on a website I can look at?
Yes, if you go on the town trustee website and review the rules and regulations for the management of the products of, the trustees, we'll have everything listed in there. If you will thoroughly read that. If you have any questions, my suggestion is to call our office and talk to our environmental analyst, James Duryea, if there's something that you're not clear on. So why don't you take a look and familiarize yourself with those regulations, and then we'd be more than happy to answer any questions for you.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. So, I think that we've had quite the day. I think there's further executive discussion that has to occur.
Yes, please. Can I just do a quick update?
Sure.
Just so that everybody is aware, we applied for opening of Sag Pond and due to the water level, and that was denied because of the presence of the endangered species piping plovers. We will continue to monitor the presence of the plovers. There is an active nest within 100 meters of the channel that we need to open. So we will give updates and continue to monitor. We are aware that the pond height is over our opening line, but we are precluded by the endangered species regulations. Mecox Bay, we will apply to open. We also, the bay level is approaching the targeted opening height there as well. However, there are 2 piping plover nests within the 100 meters that we need the plovers to be clear of. So we'll see what happens there, and we will monitor the species there as well. James, is there anything you want to add on to? Okay, so that's Mecox and Sag as far as opening, and then I'd just like to give a quick update on Mill Pond. We are looking to do a fish survey and some carp removal probably within the next 2 to 4 weeks, and then in July or August, we will do water lily removal. So just.
Okay. Thank you.
So that we're all on the same page.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything they want to add before we adjourn and go to exec? Okay.
All right, great, thank you.
Okay. So that being said, I will make a motion to adjourn our meeting and go into executive session for the purposes of discussing litigation, personnel issues.
Second.
Seconded, Trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye.
Have a great day, everybody.